All right, good to see everybody here. Coming off another really tough win. I think a game we all felt like was going to be tough. Looking back on it, really proud of our fight. There's a lot of times in that game you could have turned the other direction, and we didn't do it. We fought through even when we really didn't have our best. Honestly, on all three sides, we. Some disappointing things throughout the game. Certainly some of the penalties, some of the execution, really on both sides of the ball. Thought we had some opportunities to separate in the game. Obviously had an opportunity to get off to a great start after we came out and stopped them defensively. It's one of those that's a little bittersweet. It's mostly great because wins are hard. Wins on the road against good teams and great environments are really tough. We all know the history of us playing in Lubbock and how there's a long history here well before I was here of very tough competitive games. Always a really difficult place to play, and then when you add in the compound it with the mistakes we made early, to get out of there with the win was great. We certainly know we're going to have to take some big steps as a team. Going to have to play cleaner, going to have to play better here going forward, but. This time of year you got to win, and that's what we've been able to do. And we've put ourselves in good position. Made this upcoming game with Oklahoma State very important, as it's been for the last several years. I know that I've been here, and then obviously it's a huge game. Just the rivalry, regardless of teams' records, regardless of what you've done, it's an important game. It's an important game for this state. It's been a very important game on the national scene for the last several years. And it's going to be an important game for us here as well. Excited about another, great kickoff time. Going to have a lot of, should be a great environment. Going to have a lot of great recruits here. So it's definitely one of our marquee games year in and year out. Look forward to playing those guys. They're an interesting team right now. Very talented. They're just a play here or there away from probably having the kind of year that they would want to be having right now. But still playing at a high level. And I think offensively, it starts with Justice Hill. I've got a tremendous amount of respect for him. We've had a lot of battles against him over the years. He's a tremendous football player. Easily one of the best running backs in the country. And they've done a great job continuing to get him involved, and he's tremendous. Receiver Tylan Wallace obviously stands out as well. Has been great for them all year. Been one of the best receivers in this league and in the country this year. Makes play after play, just absolutely playing outstanding. Defensively, we know obviously brought in a new defensive coordinator with Coach Knowles, who's done a nice job with that group. The thing I would say that really stands out right now is the amount of pressure that they've got on the quarterback. They've got several guys with big sack numbers. Obviously, the Brailford kid is one of the top guys in the country right now, both in sacks and in tackles for loss. But they've got other guys too that have created pressure. And really. It's a group that we know most of these guys. We hadn't played against a quarterback yet, but we've played against a number of their skill guys, a number of their linemen. Several of the defensive players have been playing quite a bit of ball for them for the last several years. So it's a group we know well, a group we have a ton of respect for. Both the players, Coach Gundy and his staff have obviously done a tremendous job there, and so we're looking forward to it. Bedlam's one of the great games that there is, one of the great intense rivalry, one that our guys always look forward to, and certainly excited to have it here in Norman this year. So with that, we'll go questions.
Officiating, is it hard for you to tell your players what's going to be an unsportsmanlike penalty if things aren't clear? I don't know if West Virginia got flagged for giving the. Isn't that kind of silly?
Yeah, it's, I think the thing that we've all got to do is, we got to continue to communicate with the league office. But when you have penalties like unsportsmanlike that are subjective, when you put yourself in those situations, it's not always going to get called, but sometimes it is. And so as players, as us coaching them, and then as our players act or respond to things on the field, they got to know where the lines are. We certainly ask for consistency. We know that the officials aren't perfect. I think one of the big problems, and this is a little bit more big picture right now for our officials, and it's conversations we've had with our group, and we're on the same page with, is we've got these guys looking at so many things right now that, you know, I think we're putting them in a tough position to maybe call all the big calls right. And, you know, when you got officials worried about if a guy's knee pads are down, I mean, how are you going to call that? And then also worry about if a lineman's 3 yards down the field, if he grabbed them here, if the horn's down, I mean, there's just so much stuff. We've continually put more and more on these officials, and I think we're seeing some of the negative results of that too right now. And so I think there's a big picture, some things that we've got to look at. But back to your question, I mean, the subjective calls, you just can't put yourself in that position. And that's, you know, so we're working, you know, to be on the same page with our league. They've done a good job communicating with us, and we've all got to do a better job going forward, of being on the same page, and then we've got to respond to how it's going to be called.
Yep, Lincoln, the offensive line seems to really be coming into hitting its stride here late in the season. What is, I know you go way back with him, but what is it about Bill that has made him the great O-line coach that he is?
Yeah, he doesn't, there's just not much, you know, that you would say is a weakness of his. I mean, he recruits well. He's hard on him. He develops a tough mentality. He understands the technique, you know, he really develops his players, but also understands the schemes. And, you know, we all work well together. And so it's been a great thing for our linemen. It's like we've started a really good cycle there, and it kind of just keeps going. It kind of keeps feeding off itself. I mean, our linemen almost all the time are the guys that never miss anything, that kind of do all the stuff right off the field, and it tends to show up on the field as well. So the consistency, been able to get good players, guys that have bought in, attitude. I mean, he's done a great job with all that.
I know you're obviously calling the plays. Is he a guy you think would be an offensive coordinator, a play caller down the road?
I think he certainly could. I mean, I think he's a plenty good enough coach. I think we've got several guys on our staff that can and will be if they choose. And so I wouldn't put anything past him. I mean, he's one of the best there is, and if that's something he desires, I think he absolutely could.
Going back to penalties, now do you still send clips to the league if there's something maybe you disagree with? And
yes.
Do you
yes.
feel satisfaction when maybe you were the right person or you made the right call? When the league gets back with you?
A little bit, you know, it doesn't help you in the game, but yeah, I mean, there's some each week. You know, there's some calls that there's always some calls that they missed. Sometimes they're ones that benefited us. So those go both ways. But you get in some instances, like the one on CD. You know, they came back and said the first one, you know, shouldn't have been a penalty, which we knew, and the guy thought he kicked him, which you go back and watch the replay, he clearly did not. So there's some like that you're glad you don't overreact to in the moment. But yeah, there was a few both ways. We were fortunate that a few weren't called on us that were missed, and there was a couple that were called on us that, you know, that I guess this game they were a little more highlighted because they were just such big plays. You know, they were critical. You know, like Motley's interception. I mean, they just kind of happened. It was just kind of the way the night went. They happened to be on major critical plays where the ball went that way, and they were game-changing type plays that, you know, ended up going against us. But that's part of football. You know, it's, you know, we're going to get mad and do all this and that, but we got to keep on playing, and our players have got to keep playing. We got to keep coaching, and that's one thing probably throughout the night. I thought our team stayed in it, you know, and kept swinging, and that's probably the thing I'm most proud of from that game, and ultimately the reason we won.
Lincoln, this is obviously a big emotional game every year, and both teams are coming off games, you know, where at times players lost their poise. Both teams committed personal foul penalties in bad situations. Is this something that you want to maybe have concern about? You know, you need to talk to your guys about having poise. You know it's going to get hairy out there, so have some poise. Is that a concern this week? You going to talk to them about that?
Oh yeah, no, it's something, you know, we said after the game that we absolutely have to do better. There was, you know, a couple of them that were just, you know, bad on our part. And of course, this game's going to be intense. There's going to be, you know, emotions are going to be high like they should be in this game. But we've got to we've certainly got to manage it and do a better job and not give a good football team any extra yards.
Do guys, just as a follow-up, do guys sometimes, certain players will, more than others probably, try to get under the opponent's skin, try to draw them out, try to get them, out of their head or whatever?
Sure, it's gamesmanship. I mean, you see that each week, certainly. But I think for the most part, you have to be able to respond the right way, and you've got to understand that no matter what somebody does something to you, no matter what they say, you've got to keep the bigger goals in mind. You got to keep the team in mind, and if you play well and can win the game, then that's way better than any type of retaliation you could do that could potentially hurt the team.
Bob was next.
Lincoln, Robert Barnes played really well the last 3 games. Was he ready like this when the season first started, or has just been a natural progression for him?
I would say more of a progression. He missed a lot of spring. He's missed a lot of time here health-wise. So I think for him, I think we all felt like a matter of time. But he needed just to consistently be out there and have a chance to improve. And so I think he's done that. And then I think over the last several weeks, his confidence is growing. I mean, you can see that he's playing faster. Understanding what we want, what Coach Cooks is expecting in the back end right now, and then his confidence is growing as a playmaker. I mean, you really saw him trigger on some plays, made some nice plays in coverage. He's had some nice open field tackles, and he can still continue to get a lot better. But he's making a lot of big plays, and so it's fun to see a young safety like that step up for us.
Coach, wondering about your defense against the quarterback run game. Corndog has had some success doing that against Texas, and of course Erlinger had some success against you guys. How do you look at that in terms of what their threat is, and is it similar to what Texas does?
In some ways, nobody's exactly alike. It is in some ways. I think, I think we've taken some steps. We did a better job on it in the Kansas State game. Certainly, another team that features that. And it's going to be a big key to this game. I wouldn't say just the quarterback run game, but just the run game as a whole. And the quarterback is certainly a big part of that. They do a good job of keeping him involved with it, making you account for him as well. But they've ran the ball well this year. They got a couple good backs. Very good offensive line, a quarterback that can run. I think they're averaging 200 rushing yards a game right now. And then that's something that we've done extremely well here for the last several weeks, is we have stopped the run. And so that'll be a big part of the game, without a doubt. As we got to do a good job controlling it, because these guys are as talented and as creative as anybody will play in the run game.
Yeah, given the injuries you've had at running back, first to Anderson, then to Sutton, how good is it to know now that you've got a guy that you can hand the ball to 26 times, who was as good at the end as he was at the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, I think we felt like that was there. I don't know that it was a surprise, but I've been proud of the way that room has responded, and it's responded exactly like we think the running back room at Oklahoma should respond. We know we got to have a lot of great players in that room. They get a lot of tremendous opportunities, but there's a long-standing history of greatness from that room, and that expectation's there regardless of who it is, who's hurt, whoever we're playing with. That's the expectation. And so Jay Boyer's done a great job developing those guys, especially those guys that, especially been proud of the development. And Trey's gotten better without a doubt, and he was fabulous the other night. But, Kennedy Brooks, the way T.J. Pledger has developed, those guys' development has been huge, and we're going to need those two as well going forward.
Lincoln, in the game, as you talked about, you had ebbs and flows on the defensive side. Motley's, interference and the interceptions early giving you bad field position. So how well did you really feel like your defense played in the game against Tech?
We were okay. We were okay. We weren't kind of like we were on all three sides of the ball. We weren't great. We weren't terrible. We were somewhere in between, and we were tough. We played really, really hard. We had some game-changing plays. I mean, Barnes picking that off and returning it all the way back was tremendous. We had, Motley had a couple good plays on the ball. I mean, we made some big plays in the game. We played really hard, and we did a lot of things well, but we didn't we weren't as good as we need to be and as good as we can be. And so some mistakes, some things we got to do better, a couple too many explosive plays, which is something we've really done a good job with here the last several weeks that we need to do better. You know, solid, okay, not our expectation level. It's kind of the same way it was offensively. We need to play much better.
Yeah, what does it say about Kyler's resolve that he threw the couple early picks and then came back pretty flawless the rest of the game?
Yeah, no, he hung in there. He was tough. He was mentally into it, not phased at all. You know, he handled it like a guy that's been there a lot. Probably handled it like a guy that's actually been there more than he really has. So he never had any concern. He was confident, and honestly, probably after the 2 picks was probably as well as he's played, period, this year.
Lincoln, you talked about confidence with Robert Barnes. Has it been similar for Grant Calcaterra on the other side of the ball, especially as it relates to him holding on to catches through contact like he did on Saturday night?
Yeah, no, I think he's really stepped up. He's had kind of an up and down year. You know, he's missed a couple of, you know, basically entire games, you know, due to injuries. And, you know, Baylor and I guess Texas, you know, missed the majority of those games. And so he's taken some shots this year. He's been tough for us. But, yeah, no, I think there was a lot of confidence, you know, especially, you know, he made the great one-handed catch there that kind of got us going a little bit. It was a tremendous play. And then hanging on to the other seam ball, you know, where he took a pretty good shot. Those are big plays. You know, those are the tough plays that you need from your tight ends, from your bigger bodies. That's what we count on him for. But I would agree. I think his confidence is growing, and I know Kyler's got a lot of confidence in him as well.
Lincoln, I know it's a big recruiting weekend for you guys. When I'm sure you were relieved it wasn't an 11 a.m. kick. Is 2:30? Does 2:30 still work for that, or is it best when it's at night?
No, I can't complain. After the string of 11s, I can't complain about 2:30. Now 2:30 helps. It's a lot easier to get everybody here, especially the guys that are playing. You know, a lot of our guys now are playing playoff games, you know, or you know, end of season games, and so you know, we're able to get people here. You know, it can make for a little bit of an early morning for some of those people, but not anything like 11. So no, it's good to have that. Wish we could find out a lot sooner than 6 days. That would be helpful. I hear we're on another one for Kansas. So, but that's you know, we'll take the 2:30 all day long.
Rodney announced late last week he's going to enter the NFL draft. Just your thoughts on that and what he's meant to the program the last 4 years.
Yeah, he's tremendous. I mean, we had some great conversations with him here over the last several weeks, and didn't disagree at all with his decision. I mean, I think there's no doubt he's a good enough player. Could have continued to get better here and use the development? Sure, anybody could, but you know, with the quality of player he is, and then obviously with his injury history, you know, it just, when you looked at the whole picture, it made sense. And so we get it. We're very supportive of him. We've got a tremendous kind of crop of running backs right now in the NFL that are doing great things, and I think he'll do nothing but add to that. I'm thankful we had him for as long as we did here.
You know, Trey last year had 3 solid games before Rodney really emerged in the second half of the season. Did you sense, if not for Rodney, he could have carried that? And do you see, being a year older, he can maintain that through the second half of this season?
Talking about Trey? Yeah, no, I definitely think he can. I think his confidence is growing. You know, he kind of was the closer role for us last year, and it's, you know, he's a confident kid right now. He's playing well. He's playing better than he did last year. You know, more explosive, more experienced. You know, and then I think continuing to be able, I know we kind of got in the deal where he had a lot of carries the other night, but through the year being able to keep him fresh, because we do have a lot of trust in Kennedy and TJ right now as well, is a positive. But yeah, no, I mean, he's a horse, man. I mean, to have the injury he had against TCU, be back as quickly as he has, and then look like he did the other nights, you know, it's pretty impressive. So his ceiling's still quite a bit higher too, so that's a good part about it.
Kind of staying with Trey, I know back in the spring he talked about improving his speed. It looks like he cuts better. Just talk about where he was last year, where he's kind of like a guy that the first guy couldn't bring him down. Looks like he's a little bit more mobile and can make guys miss.
Yeah, no, that's been a focus point. You know, was a focus point from the staff. And then as we got Coach Wiley in here and started to continue to work on Trey's body and kind of where we thought he could be, that's definitely – it's been something we've put in front of him. We've trained him that way, and he's responded. He's definitely moving better. I mean, no question about it. His body's better. He's in better shape. Quickness, speed, all that is absolutely improved, and will continue to improve too. But the great thing is he's been able to get better at that without sacrificing the physicality, and that's kind of what separated him in the beginning. So I think you're starting to see what he can do with both right now.
Coach, Austin Seibert going up the record books.
Yeah.
Can you talk about his leg strength, and were you ever hesitant to use them in all three?
Yeah, what a deal. I mean, to be the all-time NCAA record holder, as far as extra points. I mean, there's been a lot of guys kick extra points in college football, and he's had more than anybody. So it's a compliment to him, the holders and snappers that he's had, the field goal protection, the team that's been able to score points. I mean, that's a great thing. Happy for Austin. Sure, I've definitely been hesitant with it. You'd rather not do it, but he's so good at all three and knowing the kid, his psyche, his mental toughness, his work ethic, you would be concerned with most guys, but he's been able to do it at an extremely high level, and so he's been tremendous for us. Then also this year too, becoming a team captain, and that's rare for a kicker. I mean, it's rare for a specialist to be able to do that, and so he's had a big impact on this team, both on and off the field.
Coach, wondering your thoughts on the Hollywood Brown deep ball, that it looked like he caught the ball and took several steps and didn't get back on it. Was there a teaching moment there, or can you just describe your thought?
Yeah, no, he caught it, and I think was trying to get it tucked away, and as he caught it and was going to the tuck, keep in mind at that point he's probably moving about 25 miles an hour. He just lost control of it, and it was close when you went back and looked at the replay. It was close to, was it enough of a control to be a catch or not? I can see why they made it incomplete. I thought Marquise actually did a great job of having the awareness to go back and pick it up, because it very easily could have been called a catch, and if they had called it a catch, I don't know that they would have overturned it. I mean, I think it was close enough they probably would have stayed with the call on the field. So of course we want him to get it secured and obviously finish the play and score like he does on that one, probably 98 times out of 100, but I was proud of his awareness to get back on the ball.
Yeah, Lincoln, you ran a bunch of power formations, 2 tights and a bunch of 2 wideouts only. I know you've done that some. You seem to do it more Saturday, but do you enjoy, I know you love offense and tinkering with the offense, but do you enjoy when you get into completely different realms like that than what your reputation and your background is?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I just enjoy doing things at work, at the end of the day, that's all we care about. So it's been fun to see, Jeremiah Hall's progression, and Carson Meyer both, the guys that either Carson played a little bit for us, Jeremiah played none, and so those guys are getting better. I think we're gaining more confidence in them, and we got on a little bit of a role in that personnel grouping, and confidence was high in it, and we were able to continually produce. So no, I do. I certainly enjoy finding any edge that we can, and that was an edge for us the other night, certainly.
Why does that work in relationship with the other things you do?
Oh, I think it gives people different looks, and especially when you've got some guys back there that can also catch the football, which they both obviously had big receptions throughout the game. It makes it tough. It's not something that you see every single day in this league. It gives you the ability to kind of lengthen that line of scrimmage where teams can't get penetration, and you get a chance to get your backs downhill a little bit faster. So I think the key is you got to be able to continue to do multiple things out of it, and those guys being able to catch the ball well as help us at the line of scrimmage gives you that chance.
Brendan Radley-Hiles, was his absence last week concussion protocol related, or was it something bigger and kind of along the lines of health? Marquise Brown was a little bit hobbled. Is he playing 100% right now?
Buki's is not concussion related, but was not ready to play. So we'll see how he does this week. Marquise, no, he wasn't 100%. He certainly wasn't 100% here against K-State, coming off the TCU game. But he was much healthier this week. Was certainly running much better. He had a few cramp issues there late in the game, or I think it was actually after the play that Dean asked about. Had a little bit of a cramp issue, but other than that, he's getting better. I would expect he'll be pretty close here to top speed this week.
Lincoln, you've got the redshirt rule kind of taking effect now in the last 4 games for some people. How mindful are you and your staff of just kind of going down rosters now and saying, okay, well, maybe they have a young athletic quarterback they could put some packages in for, or do something with a running back they haven't played or something?
Yeah, no, we're talking about a lot, both from our point of view, which has kind of been a continuous deal throughout the entire year, and then certainly the other teams as well, of just knowing, who they have, who they've played. You got to be mindful of it. I mean, without a doubt, it'll be interesting how teams approach it here at the end. I think we all learned and saw different people's strategies early in the season, and then, like you said, what will teams do at the end? Will they trust some of these guys to play in these big, important games? Will they create a package for a guy here or there? It's certainly possible. I think you'll see it some, and so something we got to be prepared for.
Coach, how unique is it to have a quarterback who just simply trusts the system and throws to the open guy, especially when you have guys like Marquise, guys like Seibert that you could conceivably force the ball to?
Yeah, it's important. I mean, there's an art to that, because you got to know who your guys are too, and the ball in this offense always does tend to find the best players. At the same time, if you go overboard with that, then people can key on that, and when you can involve guys like we have, we've had so many different guys make big plays for us in the passing game. It makes us tougher to defend. It creates those better matchups with your better players, and so a quarterback's got to have a feel for that, though, without a doubt. Kyler's done a pretty nice job throughout the year, I think, of moving it around, trusting it, and I think that's why he's played, at the level that he has.
Adding to Barry's question, you've got QB run game, you've got, I guess, the traditional air raid stuff, you've got the packages Barry was talking about, you've got a little option, you've got so much. What's the balancing act on how much to put in? How do you determine, what can be handled? Is there some genius that you're actually running, only a few plays, a bunch of different ways maybe, and it's not so much, but how do you do it?
Yeah, no, we're doing quite a bit. I mean, I think that's fair to say, and it's, for us, it's really 2 things. It's one, what do we think is the best plan going in for the week? If our players, were all just top level as far as football intelligence, this, that, if that wasn't an issue, that's kind of where we always start. What would be the absolute dream scheme each week? And that we think is the absolute best, and then we start to figure out what they can handle, and then if they can't handle it, then we cut it, and then we have certain numbers that we stick to each week as far as how many plays we want in different situations, we kind of give ourselves, we have a little bit of a template that we continually follow, so so we make sure we don't have too much, but we've also got enough bullets in the chamber to get the job done as well.
Lincoln, we were asking you earlier about discipline and the need for your guys to realize the line between being competitive and having an attitude about you and costing your team 15 yards. You talk about the need to coach it, and you referenced it after the game Saturday night, but you're 9 games in now. So are we at a point now where you've coached it enough? It's on your guys to get it and carry it out. It's really up to them at this point.
No, it never goes that way, because there's rarely anything that you coach that, all right, I got this covered the first part of the season, I ain't got to worry about this anymore. I mean, it doesn't, whether it's something like that, whether it's something schematic, you're going to get what you emphasize, and you've got to continually remind these guys, again, off the field, on the field, scheme, technique, how you handle yourself, carry yourself. I mean, those have got to be constant things. So I've always said if if we play bad, then we coach bad. If we play good, we coach good. I mean, we're all in this thing together. So if we didn't do a good job handling ourselves, or we had some unsportsmanlike penalties, or then we got to do a better job coaching it. So I mean, I think the easy cop out is to throw it on them and say, hey, we coached it, they're just not doing it. Nah, if we're in it together. If it's not reaching them, then we got to do a better job. And we had, like I said, we had a couple. That's why I didn't, lose my mind about CDs during the game, because I saw it and I knew he didn't do anything. But you're going to get some tough ones, and so there are some that we did do that we got to do better. We got to coach better. It's on all of us.
What's your thoughts of the play of your secondary this year, and who's been grading the highest? Who's been the most consistent back there?
I think we've taken some steps there, without a doubt. Trey Brown has really played well here in the last several weeks. He and Norwood have both been very steady for us. Really the whole year they've tackled well. Made plays on the ball. Those guys have done a great job. Motley's made the most big plays. I think that one the other night would have been his third interception. He's had several PBUs. I think he's getting more consistent as we go. He had some great tackles in the game the other night. He's got to continue to be a more consistent tackler for us. But he also makes a lot of big plays too, and game-changing type plays as we've seen this year. Safeties have been a little bit of it's been a little mixed because we've played so many guys back there. Buki's played a lot of ball. He's doing some good things for us. I thought he was really starting to settle in, and play pretty well. I thought he played pretty good against TCU. It was off to a great start against Kansas State. So kind of counting on him playing some of his best ball here towards the end. Houghton I would put in that same realm. Robert Barnes emerging here has been a big plus. Delaren Turner-Yell played pretty well for us the other day. Another one of those young guys that you feel like is going to keep making a bigger and bigger impact as we go forward. So, we've played a lot of guys, a lot of different lineups. It's still a very young group, but there's some real promising signs, and we're certainly going to need them here, with some of these groups we're getting ready to face here the last couple of weeks.
Coach, Oklahoma State's made a remarkable turnaround. They're respected by everyone. Great players have been coming through there. They've even been favored against Oklahoma some, but it's remarkable. Oklahoma's won 15 of the last 17. Can you speak to how something like that can happen? Because it's really decisive.
Yeah, kind of hard for me too. I can speak on the last three. It's. They've been battles. I know that. They've been absolute battles. We've had a chance. The first couple we had a chance to separate a little bit in those games, but they've always been battles. They've been very intense. You could tell you're playing those guys. You're going against a really good team. I've always felt that in all three. The team is really coached up. There's really good players. You feel the intensity of the rivalry. Like I said earlier, it's been a game that's been very relevant on the national stage here for the last several years. So you've felt all that. I continue to feel that, and I think that's what makes it the game it is. So, doesn't matter what's happened before this week. I know that it'll be a battle like always.